The industry has always been a nimble organization, and it's always been an organization that has adapted and shifted as time has changed and as the times have changed. So exciting to think about how far we've come in 10 years. But I think that at the 10-year mark, it's important to reflect back on not just the successes that we've had, but also what is the best way forward. Up until now, I've been the sole director, even though we've had other collaborators. And with Sweetland, I brought on Chanupa Hansaluger to co-direct with me. And that felt like the next step towards what this organization might be if we had other artistic directors that were pursuing their vision. Early on, we realized that we would need 3 artistic directors to make sure that it felt like there was a true multiplicity of viewpoints. In a way, it almost became less about the individual talent as much as it was about what would make for the most exciting team, and what would make for a group of artists that would be pursuing diverging tracks in terms of what opera currently is or what opera can be.
So look at the camera. I think what Yuval and Elizabeth and the board and everyone who's participated in the industry has built is really, really incredible. It's wild to think of it sort of starting with an idea, a production, and then accumulating over 10 years into something that is this strong, this culturally relevant, this able to produce work, complex, nuanced work. And I think it's incredibly brave that they've chosen to open this organization, this community, to myself and to Malik. I was conservatory trained. I grew up writing string quartets. I've written for the New York Philharmonic. I was raised in that kind of concert music context. But really, what I had always wanted to do, and what I slowly started gaining the agency and mobility to be able to do, was make this really full-bodied, immersive, multisensory work. And the term sonic artist, I think, is more expansive and inclusive of this practice, which is really rooted in sound and vibration, but doesn't necessarily pass through scores or written notation or the conventions of classical music that I think we associate with that word composer.
For me, performance is a place to connect your body to ideas of being in the world. But all of my work, from my scholarship and performance studies to other kinds of performance I've done, all really has to do with how do people work together? What are the tensions? What are the irresolvable questions? And what are the possibilities for collectivity and communality and just being together?
5, 6, 7, 8. You've been messing around and usually I don't mind, but this time I hate that guy.
I've worked for 20 years with a group called My Barbarian that does performance art that allows us to talk about social questions and political issues in a very theatrical, musical way in art institutions. But I've always loved the way opera coordinates so many people, so many ideas. I think that audiences can grow, lists of composers can grow, what a composition means can change. And so I'm really sort of excited to be joining a company that bridges a kind of experimental interdisciplinary approach with a real connection to the world of opera at a time when these questions are open.
I think where Malik pulls and where I pull in terms of our aesthetics and our interests feels really complementary and really distinct, and like it's not about pulling Yuval away from a center, but we're sort of stretching out into a really new geometry. And I think it takes the experimental spirit of how they've always approached work into the experiment of the organization itself. It's sort of microcosm, macrocosm becoming microcosm, and concept becoming practice in a really interesting and exciting way, and I'm really thrilled to be here.
Ash Fure's work is brilliant, very different from Yuval Sharon's, which is different from my approach that comes through performance studies and performance art. I feel like we can cover a lot of ground together.
I hope that at the end of these 3 years, we can look back at what we've created independently but together and see the kind of through line that the industry's already been making in terms of the through line from project to project. That dialogue around the idea of why we're doing what we're doing is so invaluable in shaping who we are. We're going to take this moment to truly reinvent ourselves the way that we invent ourselves each and every time we do an opera. I think doing that at the core level of the organization is in many ways our biggest experiment.